Call me the Cookie Monster.
Hi there, and welcome to this episode of Cooking with Sage. Actually, scratch that. This is going to be baking with Sage, because we're going to be baking instead of cooking. Now, of course, the big difference between cooking and baking is that usually in cooking you don't really have to worry about measuring out ingredients very precisely. But in this episode, we're going to be baking with a recipe that I just made up on the fly, and I don't really care about measuring things very precisely anyway. We're also running quite low on ingredients for this basic cookie recipe. It's a vegan cookie recipe that I really like, but like I said, it changes every time I do it. Let's get started with some things that you might need. First of all, I set the oven to preheat at about 375 degrees. I don't know, it really doesn't matter. 350 degrees, 400 degrees, whatever. Seems about right. Since these are oatmeal cookies, I'm also gonna bake these steel cutouts. Usually we have quick cutouts, but we ran out of those, so I actually have to bake these. We've had this for years. Alright, some other key ingredients you absolutely cannot skimp on. We're gonna go with some margarine. You could use butter, margarine, whatever. We're gonna use maybe half this stick. What is that, like roughly six tablespoons of butter, margarine. We're gonna be using some flour. May use half a cup, 1 cup. What is that, 128 grams? Maybe a little less, we'll see. Definitely some brown sugar. We're gonna be using lots of sugar. You could use regular sugar though, as well. I like the brown sugar. We do have that. Baking powder, definitely key, definitely something you need a little of to make the cookies rise or something, but that is a key ingredient. Then these are optional ingredients. A little salt's always good to have if your butter's not too salty. Vanilla extract's a good luxury type of item to have. Really brings out the flavor. Then I like to mix in a little bit of peanut butter. A little bit of peanut butter as well to these cookies. Make them an oatmeal peanut butter type of cookie. Vanilla flavor too. Now, another great ingredient to add in this cookie recipe would be chocolate chips or bits of chocolate. I don't have any, so we ran out of that too, so I'm not going to worry about that. But if you do have some, I highly recommend adding in some chocolate chips. Make them peanut butter oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, right? Alright, step one. Step one is to soften up your butter or margarine. I'm going to put it in the microwave a little bit. We want to be able to mix it up really well, but we don't want it all melty and liquidy. Also cooking my steel cutouts. Again, if you have quick cutouts, it's much better to use instant oats. I'm not even sure how this is going to work, but if we had instant oats, I'd use that. But I'm getting that ready. Alright, I probably softened that up a little too much. It got a little too liquidy, but you know, you want to be able to mix it with a spoon. If you leave it out at room temperature, it's a good softness. Okay, step 2, now we're going to add in a little salt. I didn't measure it, I'm just using my hand here. So that's like a teaspoon or something. Then we're going to pour in maybe a half teaspoon or so of vanilla extract, whatever you've got left. It's good, so, you know, more's pretty good. Yeah, that's the good stuff. Ooh, not too much. Alright, now we're going to add some sugar to that mixing bowl. I'm going to just pour some in, maybe about a half cup. Just for reference, that is a cup, so it's 128 grams. We'll do maybe about half of that. We'll see. Just kind of eyeballing it. Again, I don't recommend trying this at home. About right. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna add a little bit more. Oh. Uh-oh. Disaster. Steel cut oats. It's supposed to be simmering here. Oh, I made a mess. See, this is cooking. This is cooking. We're baking. Yeah, just a little bit more. It's the good stuff. Alright, so now I'm just gonna add in a glob of peanut butter. 2 tablespoons or something. You could also use nuts though. We do have these nuts. I'm not gonna use both because then it'd be walnutty and peanutty, but if you have some sort of nuts, walnuts especially are really good. Just mix in a little handful or so. Alright, so that looks like about a good size. Now we're going to move on to the dry ingredients with some flour and the key ingredient, baking powder. You overflowing again. Hard to cook steel cutouts. I just cleaned this off just for this video. Alright, so just a quick note, I'm not sure if these steel cut oats are going to work. Again, I highly recommend using quick cook oats, because you could just pour the whole oats directly into this batter and mix them together into balls, but we'll see. We'll see how this works. Just experimenting in the kitchen. Another thing I'm going to start right now is I'm going to start making my coffee. I just like to have something sweet with my coffee. Check out this sweet coffee mug. Any surface, any distance. Check it out in the Teespring link below. It's got a coffee stain on it there. Get off the mountain. There are two types of people in this world. Those that weigh their coffee grounds, and those that just estimate. That looks like a good amount. I do have this fancy pour-over apparatus though. Look at that, it's like a chemistry beaker. Alright, give me the lifeblood. That's the good stuff. Alright, so I'm getting impatient with this oatmeal, so I'm just going to scoop some out. Again, this is going to bake in the oven anyway, so even though they're raw oats still kind of. I'm just going to do like about a half cup or so, maybe like 80 grams, whatever that is. Just so it looks good basically. Alright, really critical with the amount of baking powder you add. I've gotten pretty good at this, I think, so I'm just going to estimate. I've got some in the palm of my hand. It's like maybe almost a half teaspoon, 3/4 teaspoon or something. I'll put that in grams there. Don't want to add too much. Makes it rise or something. Alright, now I basically just dump in enough flour so that it makes it kind of solid like a dough. So I'll start with about 3/4 cup flour, give it a stir and see what the consistency is. Mix it around real well with this spoon in the mixing bowl. Alright, so it's still way too liquidy and goopy. We're gonna add a little more flour. Make it like a dough. So we're gonna roll it into balls then. Alright, so that's looking pretty good right there. We're gonna form it into little balls and put it on this baking sheet. If you have a non-stick baking sheet, that's better. We had to use a little parchment paper here so they don't get stuck. We'll make them into little balls and then throw them in the oven. Alright, we're going to pop these bad boys in the oven for about 10 minutes to start. It'll probably take longer, but we're going to start there. So like I said, cooking and baking is all about adapting to the ingredients that you may or may not have. For me, the big one here was not having the quick cook oats. Kind of a tongue twister there. Say that fast. Quick cook oats. Because the steel cut oats were a little more liquidy, added a little bit more moisture to the dough. So that's a variable. That's an unhidden variable that I don't know how they're going to turn out. But what I do know is that I like to eat raw cookie dough as well. And we're going to start drinking coffee while we're waiting. Check out the Teespring link in the description below. Any surface, any distance. Alright, after about 12 minutes now, they're not solidifying very well. I think that's because of the liquidiness of the steel cut oats. Might be solid enough though. Well, they're kind of squishy. A couple more minutes maybe. Alright, so I may have added a little bit too much baking powder. They didn't really flatten out very well. Maybe a little bit more margarine would have been good. And then, of course, the whole oats, quick cook oats would have been the way to go with this. Make them kind of chewy, give them a better texture. But we'll see how these cool off here. If they're edible or not. Well, of course they're edible. Well, the texture looks a little off, but I think they're pretty tasty. Bon appetit. Nice and peanut buttery. Very moist inside. Almost healthy tasting. So I mean, they taste pretty good, but they're very moist inside. Like I could have added more flour, and the only thing that's holding them together really is the oatmeal and the peanut butter, I feel like. And definitely would have been much better if you add chocolate chips to it. Add in more chocolate, right? If you're looking for a chewy, crispy, oatmeal style cookie, this is definitely not it. It's more like a peanut butter ball. Just like something sweet in my coffee. Cheers. So yes, in retrospect, probably should have measured things out a little bit more carefully. You do what you can with the ingredients you have though. And yeah, a little too much baking powder. steel cut oats were probably a mistake. Should use the dry whole oats, quick cook oats, as we say. And yeah, hope you're having fun experimenting in the kitchen. We're gonna have some more videos, cooking with Sage, or should I say baking with Sage, to come, as well as training talks, running related content, POV videos, running outside. Hope you're doing well, hope you're staying healthy, hope you're eating well and you have some food. Again, I realize the luxury and privilege it is to have to be able to have the time to even mess around in the kitchen experimenting, but you gotta have fun somewhere and hopefully get some joy out of it. So thank you so much for subscribing on here. Hope you're staying healthy. Stay tuned for more.